Today we're back here at Gettysburg National Battlefield, and this is the second day where we were following the Union lines from up on Seminary Ridge where the first battles took place, and so on. So come along as we explore this. Our first monument is the Maryland Monument, and this thing, it is absolutely stunning. I've taken a number of photographs of this, and this is sort of where the journey begins, right across from the National Cemetery. But it's just so symbolic of how these guys had each other's backs, and uh, they really supported one another. And the interesting fact is, Maryland actually had troops on both sides. But this really is one of those beautiful monuments that they do such a phenomenal job of expressing everything that these guys were going through. The second monument here is to the state of Delaware. Once again, this is a state, they had troops on both sides, and these guys truly suffered. It's a newer monument. I think Jay had said it's a little after 2000, so I don't remember that from my time as a kid. But this is the area where the original, I think, visitor center used to be, and then they wanted to restore the battlefield completely, and then moved it to its current location. But this is just another one of those memorials that's really stunning. So I hope you enjoy your time with us as we explore the Union battlefield, the Union side, I should say, of the battlefield, primarily from Little Round Top through to over where the headquarters of Meade would have been, which would have been right at the center point where Pickett's charge happened. I did not get out at Little Round Top just because of how my leg has been, but we hit pretty much everything here, so I hope you guys enjoy.
So here we have the Eternal Peace Light. You have a flame there at the top, and this is sort of symbolize peace eternal and a nation united. And Gettysburg played a major role in changing that tide of battle and heading us back towards peace. It's just one of those monuments that's just surreal, what it symbolizes and how extraordinary it is. But another cool bit of history here at Gettysburg. So we are back here at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and we're back here with Sharon. Say hello, Sharon.
Hello.
Ola. So we're starting up on the stuff that we didn't get out for the video and to do the photography because National Cemetery sort of took it out of us. We'll see how far we get today. It is slightly cool, right, Sharon?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like humid as all get out. So we're going to continue on our journey. There's a number of places that we didn't get like we wanted to that we're going to try to get today, the rest of the battlefield. And then maybe, depending on how we're feeling, we may stop by the Lincoln Cemetery and also stop by Jenny Wade's grave, which that one will be easy because you can literally drive right up to it. So we're going to continue our journey. So here's sort of a really cool in front of the Eternal Peace Light is a really cool little, almost topographical type map. It's pretty neat, and it has all these different things like Benner's Hill, Culp's Hill, Spangler Springs, Barlow Knoll, Cemetery Hill, Cemetery Ridge, Little Round Top, Bigger. So it's actually the entire battlefield. And you can see where there's different numbers are, and it tells you sort of where things are on the battlefield, including Seminary Ridge, McPherson Ridge, Oak Hill, Little and Big Round Top, and a Peach Orchard, where some of the worst fighting took place. And then it has things to talk about all these different places. Pretty neat. But we're going to go over here. Sharon said, like, actually President Roosevelt, was it Teddy or Franklin?
It's Franklin.
So Franklin Delano Roosevelt wound up dedicating the memorial here, and there's a really cool quote. He said, "All of them we honor, not asking under which flag they fought then, thankful that they stand together under one flag now." And this was put up on the 75th battle anniversary. And there were still over 1,800 Civil War veterans and 250,000 others gathered to see FDR's dedication of this memorial. 2 veterans, one from each army, lowered a 50-foot American flag revealing the northern granite and southern limestone memorial, honoring those who fought in the war and pledging peace in the now reunited country. It was the last reunion of surviving Civil War veterans to take place at Gettysburg. Yeah, it is brother and brother reunited. We are up on Barlow's Knoll, which is named after this man, Major General Barlow. He served, he was the head of a volunteer group from New York, and really was a courageous guy and was known for that. But this is up on Barlow's Knoll. Some heavy fighting on the first day, and they were just majorly outnumbered. We also have Barlow's Knoll here that we'll check out. Number of cannons. So this is where some of the earliest fighting would have happened. Buford's cavalry would have been the earliest against, I believe it was Henry Hill, his division. Another really cool monument over here as well, and then there's a really cool story we will look at as well. This is just another neat bit of history here, and I like these unique monuments. Here you have a bugler, and they would have been responsible for the signals that would be given either via flags or the bugle call that would let you know, so there wasn't confusion. Each division, even regiment, would have their own bugle call, so that would sort of go before, you know, whether it was retreat or whatever it would be. These buglers were essential to the communications because they didn't have what we have today. So here is a story well worth telling. This is July 1st afternoon, first day of the battle. A father's loss. Here on Barlow's Knoll, Lieutenant Bayard Wilkinson, 19, directed Battery G of the 4th U.S. Artillery from horseback. While dueling with Confederate batteries, an enemy shell mangled his right leg, and according to one legend, he bound his leg, amputated it with a pocket knife as shot and shell fell around him. He died that night at a makeshift hospital. Samuel Wilkinson, Bayard's father, a correspondent for the New York Times, was traveling to Gettysburg when he heard his son had been wounded. On July 4th, he located his son's body and penned a piece which appeared on the front page of the Times, "My pen is heavy." He wrote addressing those who had given the ultimate sacrifice, "O you dead, who at Gettysburg have baptized with your blood the second birth of the freedom of America." And that's the father there. Samuel Wilkinson desperately searched many shallow graves before finally discovering the body of his son. That's war. So this particular monument is a bugler. This is actually to the 153rd Pennsylvania Infantry, 1st Brigade, 1st Division. Looks like 11th Corps. They would have been one of the early corps to arrive here on July 1st, here on Barlow's Knoll. They were defending this, and ultimately the Corps of Jubilo Early arrived here, and they just basically had to retreat through the town. But it carried into action 24 officers and 545 men, killed and died of wounds, 1 officer, 40 men, wounded 7 officers, and 117 men, captured or missing 46 men. Total loss 211 of that 569 men, so that was 33% losses. So they really suffered, no doubt. This is us coming up now on Big Round Top, which will take us over to Little Round Top, and then we can swing around as you're heading down towards the peach orchard and the wheat field. You can actually turn left and then go make a quick run around, stop by Devil's Den, which is such, I think it's usually, that's one of the favorite places on the battlefield, just because of the geology of the stones being all out. And it's just such a, the name Devil's Den definitely is fitting. And some of the bloodiest fighting happened there between Devil's Den and Little Round Top. There, they said there's a creek that goes through there. It flowed red with blood. That's just giving an example, and that was not a overstatement. There were a number of these different creeks. There's so many guys got killed, and it was so brutal the way they got killed. It just, the streams and creeks ran red with blood. Really was upsetting. We want to pull over here just quick because I think this one we got already, but there's a chaplain, Irish chaplain one that I want to actually stop at. But yeah, I got pictures of this already. But this is a cool monument here. I think this is one of the commanders of, I'm not sure if it's an Irish brigade or not, but I think it's a New York brigade. Pennsylvania, I think Pennsylvania and New York had the most troops here at the Battle of Gettysburg. This is to an officer who served. Really, really cool bit of history, and we will continue. But all kinds of fighting. You just think about fighting all throughout here, and you know, a lot of guys, this is possibly their final resting place in some of these different places where they had shallow graves. And we talked about that story about the guy that went through the shallow graves to try to find his son's body, and eventually found his son. I believe got him shipped back home, if I remember the story correctly as well. But it was just one of those many stories that it shows the connection that we all have. This guy was a newspaper man going down to, you know, do the story on the battle. Here his son was there on the first day and, you know, died from the shock and from the blood loss of basically losing his arm and then cutting his own arm off. And just the horrors of every war are of the utmost, but when you head back, when you were getting hit by these musket balls and cannonballs, it's why they had so many amputations, is because it would just shatter everything. Here you can see we're on Big Round Top. They would actually come over from Little Round Top, like 20th Maine, to keep the Confederates from getting up on here. You know, it was just after all that brutal fighting on the Little Round Top that saved the left flank of the line. And if they had lost that fight on Little Round Top, the battle probably would have been over. So it was another one of those monumental moments in history that the world could be very, very different if those guys didn't make the ultimate stand or charge like 1st Minnesota. There's a cool monument there, I believe.
Back up?
No, you're good. So that's Sykes Avenue, which is General Sykes. I can't remember off the top of my head which corps he was the general of. You do have the trail to the 20th Maine, so you actually can visit where they had their line, and that was the far left, extreme left of the Union lines. And if they had collapsed, they would have been able to, Confederates would have been able to go up over Little Round Top and around the back of the Union lines, and you would have had no choice but to retreat if you could, and potentially have the army have to surrender. And that would have been the end of the war right there. So it was a moment. What they did, the courage it took, was extraordinary. This is Little Round Top now. They have the famous statue of General Warren up here where you park. You can go walk up to, and also the amazing monument to the 144th New York. That is basically a castle that you can get an even better view from at the top of that. And you can see it right there. There's the tippy top of that castle, the 144th, and then General Warren's down this way. Beautiful black bronze statue. No. Yeah, I think the best decision in this moment is like, do this and then take the pictures of the things that we want to take pictures of and not die. But we'll continue on here. So here you get to see Devil's Den. We actually stopped there. We were up on Little Round Top before. You sort of have to, with the way the roads are, you had to go. But somewhere in here, there's a couple different caves, including Devil's Kitchen. Very, very cool. It is definitely appropriately named. Back in there, I believe, is one of the caves. There's another one over in here, and there's one back further. You can actually see down from above down into where it is. But just a neat bit of history, and major fighting went on throughout here. So a lot of guys lost their lives right in this spot. But they do take you around on the road. I'm not sure where it is because I think Cliff and I were naughty, and we went right over to Little Round Top, where I think this takes you back out, probably through the peach orchard, wheat field. But definitely when it's cooler, we will do what we need to do, and we can actually go up here. It's definitely, it sort of freaks me out a little bit because my balance is so bad. It sort of scares me a little bit. Oh, there's a really cool view, and there's a Little Round Top right up through there. You can see in the distance. General Warren statue and the other statues there. Cool artillery statue. It's just a really is such a neat battlefield, and how they do it and represent everything. Another really neat statue over here. Officer of some sort. It's to a specific regiment. But a lot of Union Irish brigades in this area because of the corps that they were in. A lot of New York Irish, some Pennsylvania Irish, and so on. But if you never have been here to Gettysburg, this is definitely a place to go. And just, there's all kinds of stuff to experience around the battlefield. There are monuments everywhere. Really a neat experience. No, you're good. This is the wheat field. This is one of the bloodiest. I think the peach orchard is the bloodiest. But this wheat field, I believe, went back and forth like 6 or 7 times, maybe as many as 11 times. General Sickles had brought his corps out further than he was told that he was supposed to, and they paid the price for it. This was really, Pickett's Charge obviously is up there as well, the casualties on the Confederate side, but this was such a brutal area. Just nobody wanted to give up the land, and they wanted to take it back, and a lot of guys died here in this hollowed ground. Here's a couple of these Irish brigades. This is the one that has the doggy. It's a lot of really cool. 5th Michigan, 66 New York. Yeah, you can stop. Sharon is forgiven. So this is another New York memorial. I believe it has all the names of the different generals, and then sorted down through the ranks with brigades and all that kind of stuff. A really neat memorial. It's right down from Pennsylvania Memorial, and also we're going to stop by the Minnesota, which is right coming up. What happened to you? What's that? Pennsylvania was one of the early ones, because then they started giving states the rights to come and like putting up different monuments they could pay for. I think overall the museum commissioner, whoever was behind it, paid for a lot of these smaller monuments, but like the bigger monuments are usually paid for by the state.
But do they have like a only have so many monuments, right?
Not necessarily. Like New York could have as many, because depending on how the state served and all that kind of stuff. And this is
do Minnesota.
There's going to be no good place to park, so we can keep on moving. We'll do the Pennsylvania. So here we have the Pennsylvania Memorial. Just a stunning memorial to those who served from the state of Pennsylvania here in Gettysburg. You have these really cool statues, 2 on each of the sides. The front 2 here, I think, is Lincoln and Governor Curtin. Then you would have generals like Reynolds, Humphrey, General Hayes, I said General Reynolds. I'm not sure who all are the statues because there's more names up at the top. General Meade, I believe I'm not sure if he has a statue on here or not because he's not, I don't believe he was from Pennsylvania, but I think the statues are primarily Pennsylvanians, military. So Meade, because he's a commanding general, probably is up there, but there's 8 total bronze statues, and of course you have the beautiful Lady Victory, I believe it is. That's up on the very top of this monument. And then all around it on these bronze plaques are the names of every single soldier, I believe, and their companies and their brigades. Really pretty neat. And then on the inside of those arches, they actually have like colonels and stuff like that, because there's several different ones that got killed here at Gettysburg, but it just is a tribute. You even have there was a relative of ours that was in the cavalry. My dad used to find his all the time, and it was up on the upper top there. You see some of those plaques on the inner of the arches. He was on one of those, and the 93rd Pennsylvania fought here, and we've done a bunch of videos on the Blue-Eyed Six, and Charles Drews actually fought here, so he is on somewhere on this monument at some point. I want to try when I can move around and walk more, because my walking right now is really rough, and I just have to know my limitations. But such a really cool monument. It's the biggest, I believe, the biggest monument here at Gettysburg, and it is just absolutely stunning.
So this is an amazing memorial for the 1st Minnesota. On the second day, they were asked by Winfield Scott Hancock to make a charge to, in essence, save the Union lines. General Sickles had moved his corps forward against orders, and in essence, that's where the really bad fighting in the Peach Orchard and in the wheat field, as it's known, were made, and heavy casualties. And the 1st Minnesota was asked, would you be willing to make a charge that is just, it really was insane. And they knew there was no chance of them basically coming out of that. So the idea was just to delay long enough to allow reinforcements to come so that hopefully the line wouldn't be broken. And they voted to a man unanimously to do it, knowing full well they may not come back from this. And in fact, they had about 80% casualty rate. And really, it's one of those moments in time we talked about quite a few times. It may have very well, that charge may have changed the world and saved a lot of lives in the future.
I am videoing from inside the van just because it is so hot out there and I'm not reacting well to the heat, and my leg is basically giving up. This is the copse of trees. Now, I don't think this is, like, obviously not the original trees, but it's what they would have aimed for during Pickett's charge. Sort of like everybody head towards those trees, and that's sort of the gathering and meeting point of where they would break the Union lines, or so they hoped. Of course, you had cannons all along here. This is Brown's Battery B artillery. We're coming down through here where you'll have Meade's statue where he's up on the horse. A couple other cool statues hopefully we can get some pictures of. This is a pretty busy part of the battlefield, and the buses are coming through here today, so it's just sort of is what it is. But this is such a monumental part of the battle on the 3rd day with Pickett's charge, the high water mark, where they would have actually partially broken the line a little bit, where Armistead crossed the Union lines and put his hand on one of the cannons and then was fatally shot. Oop, Sharon almost went down. But really important part of this Gettysburg battlefield. So here is the statue of George Meade, who was the commander here of the Army of Potomac at Gettysburg, and that's his statue where he's up on his horse. His headquarters were right nearby here, and this is just another important important monument here on the Battle of Gettysburg.